the sake of everybody's time, we'll call this meeting to order. The first order of business is the approval of the July 25th, 2023 minutes. Is there a motion, Mr. Salzer and Mrs. Daly? Any questions, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have informational items. We do have a presentation by JD with Peoria Area Convention and Visitors Bureau today, but I move to receive and file the rest of the reports unless anybody has any questions. So myself, Administrator Sorrell, and Vice Chairwoman Williams met with JD about a month ago to give a presentation to the board today about the services that they are providing. JD, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity to stand here and talk about our home destination. And so I will try and be at least brief with what I can. I can talk passionately about this. So, but I did present some materials we'll get to, but feel free to look through those as I go through a little bit of a presentation here. And I have some other references here that we'll get to. I know you might have some questions for me, but is it okay if I ask a question? Just a simple one. Anybody been able to travel this weekend or this summer at all? Family vacation, anything? Excellent. Yeah. Miss Daly. Miss Daly? Right. Awesome. Wonderful. Anybody else? Yes. Yep. St. Louis and Chicago are destinations for us. We went to Austin recently too. Family, travel, business, pleasure. We travel and we spend money on our destinations, right? And that's what we try and do at a Convention and Visitors Bureau, is to encourage that. But not even just people traveling here, but also to our residents as well. And that's an important piece of what we do here at the Convention and Visitors Bureau now, also known as a destination marketing organization within the industry. And so with that, it kind of goes into who we are. We're one of 37 certified Convention and Visitors Bureaus within the state of Illinois that operates under the umbrella DCEO, state of Illinois, and the Illinois Office of Tourism. So it's a branch under there. And so 37 certified Convention and Visitors Bureaus. We cover 7 counties within our area, from Stark County, Marshall, Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Fulton, and Mason counties. So the region that those counties claim us, and we thank you for recognizing us as the official Convention and Visitors Bureau. But what we do, our vision, is really to operate as a fundamental community service by developing, articulating, and managing our community's brand, how we feel, how people perceive us, our residents, and our visitors alike, so that our entire Peoria area represents a higher standard for destinations across the country. We talk about brand. I use a reference of Coca-Cola. When you see Coca-Cola, you see the red and the white script lettering. That's the brand identity. The brand is the feeling you have in which you interact with that product. You do it for any product, right? I'm a fan of Coca-Cola because I know when I show up at McDonald's, I'm grabbing the salty fries and then following with their Coca-Cola, right? That's the experience I know and I associate. So when we talk about destinations, how do we develop that brand here? And we're in charge as a certified bureau in partnership with state and our local municipalities to emphasize that brand for visitors and residents alike. Our mission is really to be an industry leader at all times, so that Discover Peoria promotes our region as a desired destination for visitors. We contribute to the economic growth of the communities we represent, enhance the quality of life for residents, and amplifying pride across our region. So why is it vital? Well, like many DMOs across the country and across the world, the CVB here is uniquely positioned to market our communities as desirable destinations. Our support and promotion of Greater Peoria and Peoria County, specifically here today, benefits not only prospective visitors, but also residents as well. You know, many of the concepts of understanding what CVBs used to be is to drive heads in beds, and that was the sole focus for the longest times. But we realized when people travel, they're not just staying in heads in beds or in hotels. They're also eating at our small businesses. They're also attending our attractions that we have in our own backyard. Many times our residents can attract to those as well. Our restaurants and our attractions, particularly as we've seen throughout the pandemic, our residents were the ones supporting those small businesses, not necessarily visitors as travel was shut off. So more about what we do. We work hand in hand with our communities in our 7-county service area to create economic growth through sales and marketing of our destinations, facilities, attractions, and hotels. So we try and attract those sporting events, meetings, conventions, leisure tourists, while these visitors are enjoying our communities, are spending and bolstering our businesses throughout their local tax, for their money to support our local tax revenue. Before the pandemic, travel and tourism played influence to, as you can see, more than $680 million in travel spending across central Illinois. That's the 7 counties that I listed earlier, translating into $20.8 million in total tax receipts. These are very big numbers that you can get lost in, but the $686 million attributes for every piece of spend that attributes to domestic travel. So there's a large domino effect that happens to that. As great as it is to list those big numbers, we focus on that smaller number, $20.8 million in local tax receipts. That's what we're seeing in our own communities, given back to our municipalities that support us. Specific to Peoria County, $373 million of that $686 was generated in Peoria, with more than $8.5 million in local tax receipts contributed. That's, again, outside tax money being spent in our backyard. So those are economic impact numbers based off of calculations done by Oxford Economics and Tourism Economics, an arm of Oxford Economics that focuses on tourism. That also is done in collaboration with the Illinois Office of Tourism. So these numbers get handed down to us with our partnership with the state, and we get county by county breakdown of those economic numbers. That's the background of where that comes from. I can share that information, that document with you at some point if you desire it. That's the source of those numbers. And I put down here new economic numbers soon to come out according to IoT and DCO at the end of this month. We are there. I have not received them yet. But upon those numbers, we anticipate higher numbers. In our partnership with the city of Peoria, we see hotel, restaurant, amusement taxes surpassing 2019 levels in those tax revenues in those buckets. So I'm anticipating higher numbers than even the numbers we may see here. But I'll look at the methodology as well and report back if there's any interest. At this time, I do have, I'll break down a little bit of our marketing, but before that, our sales, I do want to break down the sales portion of what we do as a convention visitors bureau. Our sales teams comprise the 4 individuals, the director of sales and sales managers, go out and recruit business, conventions, meetings planners to see Peoria as an ideal place to bring their meetings and conventions and their business. In doing that, we have many materials that you see produced by our marketing department. I have many of them up here that we use for internal purposes that highlight Peoria overall, our community as a faith destination, our diverse communities, highlighting on the diversity, sports fanatics, history of our innovation, medical technology, all of these packets used to provide the information of our backyard to people planning meetings and to find homes for their clients and people bringing business to Peoria. So as we see a rise in our medical community, we see a rise in potential for business meetings within health tech to descend upon Peoria. So growing those relationships with Carl, OSF, Jump Trading, as opportunities to bring those meetings here as resources for their businesses, whether it's religious or diversity or faith, or sports tourism. Sports tourism is, of course, growing with Louisville Sports Complex in our backyard and thriving. The only facility with the name Louisville Slugger. We're strong partners with them to bring more business and provide the hospitality and servicing to those teams coming to Peoria. As we see that in disc golf rising in our backyards, we're focusing on the opportunities that are coming year over year based in those sports realms. Last year, or this year so far, at the Peoria Civic Center, we've booked 64 definite pieces of business, translating to just over 88,000 show attendees and 36,480 rooms requested. That is the work we do alongside the Civic Center. The Civic Center also, we're working with their staff, have books of business as well. The collaboration between our entity and the Civic Center has never been stronger, in my opinion, in the way we're recruiting business to get across the finish line and fill the Civic Center with the dates appropriate for that facility. And so as we have that, our reports are showing strength and recovery, particularly with the effects of the pandemic. Show attendees, again, on the rise, near pre-pandemic levels, and then business confidence as well growing in that regard. In our marketing efforts, I did want to share a few things. It's basically show and tell. It's all the pretty stuff we get to show about our organization. So prior to coming up here, I passed out some references. Our downtown Peoria guide that highlights anybody coming to downtown for business or exploring downtown has the opportunity to explore near downtown facilities in Peoria. Also, Play in Peoria is our sports guide. We have revamped these. We're going to have 6 editions of that size guide that we have with a shelf life of 3 years. One of the things we're doing is providing vital information in those booklets, but driving them to the website, which has regular updated website information, whether that's a calendar of events, things to do, restaurants, stories, blogs, references, inspiration for when they visit, for visitors and or residents alike. So you see that our little cards there with QR codes are placed in our hotel partners. So any asset or any partner that desires to have those, we provide those free of charge to the facilities, restaurants, hotels to present those little cards to where you can eat, play, and explore things to do or calendar events. Placing more of this in there in front of them physically and electronically is our goal. Additionally, I wanted to share some of the snapshots here, and I'll get into some more traffic as well. If you can see on this screen, this is a snapshot of a newly revamped website. This is the Peoria County page. And so I can't scroll this time, but I encourage you to go to discoverpeoria.com or peoria.org, go to our communities, and find Peoria County. Specifically, Peoria County lists all the municipalities, particularly in partnership with us within Peoria County, and explores their pages as well. So you'll find all the information, events in Peoria County, restaurants in Peoria County, those that fall within the hospitality industry promoted within that page. In the month of June, we hit a benchmark that I share with our board of directors. For the first time ever in our history, we surpassed six figures in visitors on our website. 102,325 visitors to the website. Prior to that was the month of May, which record was 77,000 visitors. In the month of June, we had 88,000 unique visitors of that 102. What does this mean? It means our website is gaining traffic and more eyes are being driven there. Our efforts is to continue to make that the norm so that things in our backyard are in front of more eyeballs more regularly. So that is some of the fuel that we put into the fire in our marketing efforts online. Additionally, we have social media publications, advertisements being put in USA Today, national publications, state publications, our calendar events, banners you see in downtown and all the way throughout the city of Peoria. Those link to our calendar events for the region. So if you have time, you can snap those as well. You saw the Discover Guides, our blogs. We've published more than 80 blogs in last year, and that number continues to rise for information for visitors and residents alike. Additionally, we just posted our 10,000th calendar entry for our calendar events. So that's a benchmark we hope to see, of course, grow. And so all of these things go towards our marketing efforts as we continue. You can see snapshots from our website. Strategic and purposeful content, first-time visitors can explore there. I think there's a gentleman we all know and love. Illinois Made Makers is an opportunity for us to partner directly with the Illinois Office of Tourism to promote small businesses that locally source and make products here in Illinois. I'm proud to say that over the last 2 years, the Peoria area has garnered more Illinois Made Maker winners than any other destination in the state of Illinois. 4 this year and 4 last year. And my team knows I'm competitive in that region, so I can carefully and politely remind my colleagues that we have more than anybody else. One of the success stories recently was Riley's Cupcakes, Vegan and Sweets and Eats. Harold Webster with Triple Dipples is another great winner. Harold and Riley this week are on radio in Chicago talking about their stories and their small businesses. So with this notoriety with them through our nomination process, our local businesses are now gaining statewide and Midwest recognition. A couple of things that I'll scroll through quickly because I can give you these reports as well. This is foot traffic from January and April of the first quarter of this year to the Peoria area. What it lists is where they're coming from, our top 10 destinations, and where they go afterwards. So you can see from Peoria downtown, you can see where they go elsewhere when they get here. This is software we use to determine the effects of our events in town or just overall visitation. So what I have here is just a few slides that emphasize, and again, I can provide this at any time, so I'm going to scroll quickly for your sake of time and consideration. Those that visit Peoria International Airport are heading to these following destinations, and afterwards we have conventions. Illinois Music Educators Association 2023. How long do visitors stay in your destination? This is one of the largest conventions that we have in downtown Peoria every year. Of the 13,000 trips to the destination over the same time with ILMEA, 52.6 of trips include at least one night in our destination. You can see the growth over clearly 1, 2, 3, 4 nights, indicating the strength of that convention in town. The Ledgestone Open, as I mentioned, disc golf. You'll see the green has shifted across the country. This is traffic to the Peoria area for Ledgestone Open in 2022. So you can see more West Coast and people traffic from across the country for that tournament. August 13th, 2022, the trip volume was 8,000, over 8,000 on August 13th alone. That was a peak. You can see the growth over that week of tournament play. 41,000 trips to the destination, with more than 56% of trips at least one night overstay. And this is a group that stays almost really 2 weeks, depending for the athletes to acclimate themselves to the destination. USSSA Great Lakes National. This is a competition we host at Louisville Slugger. Louisville Slugger hosts it. We help provide them hospitality services while here. Again, similar to Ledgestone, a high traffic area, particularly from the Minnesota states, and a long pattern to stay. 15.1% stayed 4+ nights. I'm going to conclude here with a few things. Is just, again, what do we do? Simply put, when you ride up 2 floors to our 3rd floor, I can tell you that we promote the Peoria area to attract visitors and grow the economy. Simply put, that's what we do. And with the support that we could get from our local municipalities as we've grown over my time at the Bureau, we're looking to support Peoria County more specifically. And your support helps towards these operations, towards the businesses within Peoria County, and structuring that partnership in a two-way partnership that we can be accountable for the partnership that we have with Peoria County and support the hospitality industry within Peoria County as well. Lastly, 740 Peoria County hospitality entities. If we're discussing today amounts, breaking down, 25,000 supports each entity at about $33, and travel supports Peoria County at the tune of $18.6 million, and local taxes, again, based off that source. We hope to see those numbers grow, and with additional support to operate and promote our destination, we hope to see that growth year over year. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, revert to any other data, and just want to thank you again for the time. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, JD. Ms. Bryant.
I just have a question about how businesses and their events are selected to go on the site.
Anybody and everybody.
Are they able to submit them themselves? Do you approve them, or does Discover Peoria choose them?
It's a little bit of all, and I'll tell you how that happens. Anybody is able to go onto our website right now and go to our calendar events and submit your own event and submit the details for that event. And right now we're trying to get over the last domino effect of that is to where if you just simply highlight the URL to the event it's posted somewhere else, it can help extrapolate that data and information and make your job easier. However, you can easily put that in yourself, or we also have a team within Discover Peoria that is looking for those events as well. We understand that being the most comprehensive calendar events in the region, I would argue, not everybody still knows that they can submit their events for free. And so we reported recently at Peoria Heights that they had about 33 events posted in their last quarter. People within Peoria Heights submitted 6 of those events, while our team found the remaining events and posted those on the website to bring more awareness. So it's a little bit free of charge for anybody, and we will help put that event on and look for events that may not be on there already.
Member Renault.
Thank you. And just scrolling through the literature that you handed out, even on the map, I've noticed there's something glaringly missing that brings a lot of attraction to this area, especially with the new Body Works exhibit, is there's no mention of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, which is housed inside of a public facility. So is there a reason why it's missing from your literature?
So we had, I can't remember how many icons are on that last map. So we had an artist create that map, and every location cost a certain amount. And so some weren't going to be able to make the list. We had probably double the amount on there to pick and choose from. Why it's not on there, I'm not sure for that map. I can say that the Peoria Riverfront Museum is regularly mentioned in our proposals to the Illinois Office of Tourism's Enjoy Illinois magazine. So we know as that asset is incredibly large anchor to downtown, we try and make sure that they're positioned in even bigger references, particularly in statewide promotion as well. It's not lost on us. We just missed the mark on that one, as you may see.
Ms. Williams.
So I just want to say that the website is great. The one thing I'd like to comment about is food, because my husband and I travel for food. So I love the fact that you've really done your research, because tenderloins, people will drive hours and hours and hours, including me, to get a really good tenderloin.
Thank you.
And so for the board's sake, why we asked JD here today too was, if you recall, we had economic development money in ARPA. So originally, Peoria County has never invested in the Visitors and Convention Bureau, and JD and his team is making pitches to all the counties and the cities. So the original format was $50,000 a year on a 3-year deal. So after Vice Chairman Williams and myself met with them, easing into this, what we proposed was $25,000 up to 3 years, but renewable every year, and that JD and his team would come make a presentation so that we know this data. So next month there will be a resolution coming to the board for economic development money for $25,000. Now that's what we proposed. I mean, that could be the discussion of the horseshoe if you would want to go back to the 50, but after discussions, that's what we felt comfortable easing into, but it would always be like we've had on other things. We want to see performance metrics, and they would be renewable, not a 3-year contract.
May I add to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Part of that process that we've instituted within the Bureau is to make sure that we are held accountable for the generosity of our local municipalities, which is why we enter into structured contracts of such, which list the roles and responsibilities we are called to fulfill based off that. And so we've been working with the chairman and Ms. Williams as well on just what that's going to look like. We've done it with many municipalities just to shore up the understanding of what's coming. So we can enter then that process to assure, and I'm at your service at any time to provide reports and updates as it regards to travel and tourism.
Any other questions? Thanks, JD. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next up is standing committee reports. First up is infrastructure. Coach.
We met yesterday with 4 different resolutions. They were all adopted. The very first one, as you see there, is PUATS, and having served on PUATS, I know how valuable it is. And they have sometimes even moved some of our projects more quickly for us than we had anticipated. I can think of one over when we did Sterling Hill for West Peoria, and that, of course, has really been an improvement for traffic in that area, and has moved traffic very quickly on down to Farmington Road, as well as back into Peoria. And our dues for that, and it's a good investment, is $50,550, and we are recommending that resolution be adopted. The next one, the Johnson Controls contract, it's a service contract, and it applies right here to the courthouse only. And we signed a 3-year contract with this Johnson Controls. They've been very active with us, and the 3-year contract comes to a little over $43,000. The third one was the juvenile detention boiler. If you'll remember, some of you, in 2022, that one of the 3 boilers went down, and we wanted to replace it at that time, but it was financially impossible to do it. So we finally this year was able to get Amron involved, and Amron they are going to pay for the cost of this, and they've already contacted and they're going to have rural mechanical who's done work for us right here in the courthouse. They are going to do it, and that boiler should be finished, they say, by December of this year. The fourth resolution has to do with One Technology. Now, One Technology, we own a little over 6,500 square feet of that building. And I always thought it was a white elephant until Steve's former employer decided they were going to build here in Peoria and so forth. And I was jumping with joy because I knew, man, that's really going to help us in our investment. But when they decided to move, which was a sad moment for us here, the area has been rented by us. We rented it to the state of Illinois. I think it's the Department of Human Services, and we own that part of One Technology. Now, One Technology is owned by Fulton Street LLC, and unbeknown to us, their lender, they have foreclosed on them, and the lender has also hired a firm out of Detroit, as you see there, and that company is NAI Fabman or Farbman? Is it Fabman? Anyway, they are going to auction it off. And we went into executive session to discuss quite a bit of this because, where does it put us? Do we want to get involved in the auction, or do we basically want to stand pat and own part of this building and so forth? So that was our big discussion. The decision was not made after we came out of executive session. I think it was kind of the consensus that we go into a full meeting of the county board, probably in executive session, and discuss this so we don't blindside anybody and everybody, knows what's going to happen. But if we do agree to the auction, then I think we put it in the hands of this company. We wouldn't go out and hire anybody ourselves. You want to say anything, Chairman? You were one of the four people that made it there. I think Betty, did you make all of our motions? Yeah, glad to have you there, Betty. There was only four of us. We were missing some.
I would just encourage, if you want to know something prior to it, to reach out to myself or Administrator Sorrell to update you. He did send an email out in regards to the conversation, which Mr. Salzer, but there were some other things that were discussed in that executive. For the full board's sake, we have a few things that we will need to go into executive session to discuss at county board in 2 weeks. So this will be one of them so that everybody can have a fair understanding of what is being presented.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't want to say anything because it's executive session.
Agreed. Next up is Ways and Means. Member Duncan.
Yeah, Ways and Means. We had a resolution for delinquent taxes for the month of July 2023 and also for August 2023, and that was voted on unanimously. That was it.
And a good report from the treasurer.
Beg your pardon?
And a good report from the treasurer.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. To let everyone know in our committee, the Ways and Means, which has been very beneficial for all of us, that we've been asking for a presentation from each of the departments. And on yesterday, we did have one from our treasurer, and it was very thorough. We could do another one because more and more she presented, the more information came out, and it was just very good, very good. Each one of them were very good. So we're looking forward to our next ones. If all of the committees are not doing that, I would suggest do it because you gain a lot of information in regards to our county. Thank you.
And thank you to Chairwoman Duncan for welcoming me to the committee. I made the quorum since it was me, Ms. Duncan, and Mr. Windisch for
Yes,
the
and we were
committee
able to have a
yesterday.
meeting.
So,
Thank you.
land use.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We didn't have a quorum. There's only 3 of us there. So we're going to have our meeting so everybody can come to it at 5 o'clock before the county board meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Rosenbaum. Chairman Ricker, County Operations.
Yes, we had one resolution. It was a personnel policy update regarding election judge time off. So our current policy today is that employees of the county who have passed their probation period can opt to be an election judge with the approval of their supervisor in their department. And the current policy is also they get paid to be an election judge, but they have to turn that pay back as an official employee of the county, which is sort of discouraging them to be an election judge because as an election judge, you work anywhere from 14 to 16 plus hours that day on the election. So the policy change is twofold. The first is removing the line of probationary employees being restricted from that opportunity, allowing their supervisor to make that decision. The second is to remove the stipulation that the employee would return their pay from the election commission for being a voter or election judge. So we had some good discussion around it, questions about how will it impact our operations. Currently we've been averaging 3 employees out of our county employment pool that work at the election as an election judge. Hopefully this will allow more to step up to do that. And from an operational standpoint, they still have to be approved by their supervisor to make sure that we're running our departments in the county that on election day effectively. But that did pass unanimously. And it's a fairly small budget impact to the county. The employee will get the benefit of retaining their election judge pay, but it's a fairly small cost to us to allow them to work. Any questions? All right, thank
Chairman
you.
Ricker, where did that suggestion come from?
I think the election commission brought that
Yes.
forward. So, yes.
Next up, seeing Chairwoman Allison Harris, Member Phelan, for Public Safety and Justice.
Thank you. We had 4 pretty straightforward resolutions today. The first was an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Peoria for participation in Greater Peoria Auto Crimes Task Force, also known as GPAC. That is a task force that is going after hijacked vehicles and stolen cars. That passed unanimously. The next one, or really the next 2, were COLA adjustments for the Peoria County Sheriff and the Public Defender based off the state's attorney's salary. That passed. Both of those passed. And then the final resolution was an appropriation of funds that were left over and unspent. That's part of the COPS fund. It came from a JAG grant, and those funds are gonna be used to purchase computers for detectives.
questions? Thank you, Member Phelan. Next, Member Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had no resolutions. However, just to let everybody know that the budget books will be ready September 12th. Is that right? September 12th. So I just want to publicly comment on the process. Working with the elected officials and department heads, as well as our administration, the budget talks went very, very smoothly. And our finance department has just done an amazing job with this process.
Any questions? Seeing none. Public comment? Seeing no public comment. Miscellaneous, just for, Member Blair.
I wasn't, at the last meeting, we all went and did a museum tour, so I wasn't allowed to, I didn't have time to report this. But the Advisory Committee on Entrepreneurship and Small Business did give out 13 more micro grants to local business owners to help them get their businesses off the ground. We had a set aside of 30% that would go to entrepreneurs that represented underrepresented groups, and we are very excited to say that all 13 represented some kind of underrepresented group in this area. So we have given out a total of $95,000 in micro grants this year.
Thank you, Member Blair. Anything else under? Member Renault.
I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Labor Day and to remind you that there will be a parade downtown starting at 10 o'clock on Monday. So hope everybody shows up.
With the picnic following. Anybody else? So, lastly, I just want to bring it to the board's attention. I talked about the other things, the Convention of the Bureau and the executive session, but Member Coates and Member Phelan were good enough to reach out from Tri-County. So, just for a general understanding, they repurposed a few years ago where Puats and Tri-County combined, but they're under the bylaws of Tri-County, which is a 1958 document resolution by Woodford, Tazewell, and Peoria County. Now, in that agreement, we are bound to the terms of the decisions that city members make from these different municipalities, but all liability falls back to the county in a division of 3. So, in that, we ask for love the fact that our 2 members take their fiduciary responsibilities, even on that board, seriously. So the conversation is around them for employee retention to enter into IMRF. So, that was asked, what is the liability to the county? So we've asked for some legal documents from them. Now, IMRF is fully funded, so the question is, what would happen if they dissolve? Which nobody in the foreseeable future sees that happening, but you never know. And with the pension system 100% funded, there should be no liability, but we still have asked for Jenny and the state's attorney's office to review any of the documentations. I did have a conversation with Director Miller after a letter was sent, before a letter was sent, if we would disagree with this, but we don't have the votes on there to stop that, it does sound like if any of the 3 counties would have a problem entering into the IMRF agreement, that it would not be pursued. So there's a few different ways to handle this. They're trying to look to make some decisions here fairly soon and start IMRF sometime next year. I guess my request to them would be pump the brakes until you get us the information to actually make a decision that's viable and see it. And I understand their points, and they did have why they would want, and with employee recruitment and retention, it would do away with their 401k plan, but still offer it to employees if they did it. But our members did bring to light the financial implications, both for their board and our board. So I do want to have that reviewed before we're tied to anything that would be in the foreseeable future. But I wanted to let this board know those circumstances. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or our two representatives on that board could answer any questions. And I don't know if that means us just giving a verbal okay once we figure out from this that there is no liabilities, or if that means passing a resolution assuming the liabilities, if there were liabilities in 20, 25 years. So we got to figure that out, but I wanted the board to be aware. Member Ricker.
Just quick, from a scale, how many employees are we speaking of that would be in consideration for that IMRF for Tri-County?
Yeah, it's 10 or less.
And are they employees of the Tri-County organization? I'm just trying to.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
They're
it's
not co-employees of other counties or other organizations. They're truly Tri-County
Correct.
employees.
Yeah, Tri-County Regional Planning Commission was it's a special purpose unit of local government. Regional planning commissions are permitted, specifically itemized in statute. Ours was created in the 50s by an intergovernmental agreement between ourselves, Woodford, and Tazewell. So the governance structure was created, the entity was created, and then they are their own separate employer. They are not our employee. We are not co-employers in neither our Tazewell nor Woodford.
And that was my first question, Steve. Are they even eligible to be an IMRF as a government entity? And due to that creation of the resolution in 3 counties, they're certified by the state and eligible for IMRF implications. So now if they do dissolve and there is no liability from IMRF, on the other end, the assets, whatever they have, which wouldn't probably be much other than reserves currently, would then be divided among the 3. And they didn't get PUATs, and this is a whole longer discussion from a few years ago when the merger, but I just wanted the board to be aware of that, and that we will looking into it and will advise. Member Renault?
So the employer portion would be paid by them?
Member Renault?
I guess the last thing is I guess legally, as long as there's no way that they can come, it'll be from point forward, correct?
Correct.
There's no way they can come back and say, hey, I've been employed for 20 years, I want.
Well, those would be some of the questions, but I don't believe you can go forward. You can't go back on something until they pass a resolution themselves, creating it and going forward. It wouldn't be like the other circumstances where it was already in effect, they opted out and want to go back, but that's some of the legalese
right.
that we want to.
That's exactly the line I was thinking of, was things that have happened in the past to us.
Member Salzer.
To get qualified under IMRF, you got to have 10 years now, don't you?
So they would all be.
Do they start right now, their 10 year, I mean, to work towards 10 years, or when does it apply?
It's longer, and then they're tier 2, so they want to, their idea is to start at sometime next year. So that's when everything would accrue. So you would have to, I think it is 10 years to be
Right.
vested in tier 2.
Tier 2 is a 10-year vesting, based on what I've read, or the chairman and I have discussed. That 10-year clock would start ticking, next year or whenever they start it.
Now liability, that IMRF, I do believe, is 100% funded. So that's the. Now, if they were at 90% funded, which they've never gone below 100, because I think they just uptick what they make all units of government charge, and that's
Right.
how it's funded. So.
So all of IMRF is not necessarily 100% funded, but the Peoria County government share of IMRF is 100% funded.
I think out of all the pensions, IMRF is the best.
It's considered.
Yeah.
So we need more data before. And thank you to Member Coates and Member Phelan for serving on that board. Anything else under miscellaneous? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.